Welcome to the Growth Guys Podcast, presented by KinderReeseCoaching.com. This is the #1 podcast for real estate agents who are serious about growing their business. Get the strategies and tactics to grow your business fast while building the lifestyle you dream of. Now, sit back, buckle up, and get ready, because we're about to get real. The Growth Guys Podcast starts right now.
Hey everybody, it's another episode of the Growth Guys Podcast with Jeff Kiani and John Kitchens. What's going on, John?
What is happening?
Fresh back to the great state of Texas from Las Vegas.
I think I'll stay here for a while.
And we're starting to get some cooler weather, so it's a little more accommodating right now.
God, it's beautiful. This is my favorite time of the year. Not because of the what I revealed earlier, the pumpkin spice lattes, but man, I love that. I love the cool mornings, right? Especially you and I getting out and hitting the pavements, man. There's nothing better that 60 degree weather. And just, man, it just feels like – I remember you laughing, running all those miles during the summer, sweating, running in the heat of the Texas heat, saying, I can't wait till it gets cooler. I'm going to run so fast.
I know, and I'm still waiting on that to happen. We need a little bit more cooler weather.
I love it. That's awesome.
But you know what? To just kind of tie into what we're going to talk about today, so you were out there in Vegas and actually – to really tie it in, you were hanging around a bunch of people and were part of one of the companies that is the most different or has differentiated themselves the most when it comes to the real estate industry. And so leading into today's topic, we're going to talk about differentiation and how agents should be trying to and ways that they can differentiate themselves in their market. I mean, like in Dallas, Fort Worth, I believe there's somewhere close to 30,000 real estate agents. Yeah. And so just imagine that that's who you're up against. If not, in your market, there's at least, no matter how niche-y you are, probably a lot. And so you need to find a way to differentiate yourself. So I know this is something that we coach. This is something that we talk about at our boot camps. And a lot of people haven't thought of it in the way that we talk about it. So Kitchens, just start us off with, what does differentiation mean in my everyday practice as a real estate agent or a business owner?
What makes you stand out from those other 30,000, like you had mentioned, right? Even for us, even in a smaller market, what makes you stand out from your competition? What is different? And, for a lot of people, they don't take the time to figure that out, right? They don't have a clearly, differentiated value proposition, let alone be able to articulate it, right? And so when you look at it from a differentiation standpoint, what's lacking, when that is lacking, then it's what we talk about as a race to the bottom. And from a race to the bottom standpoint is that when you try to compete on price, there is always somebody that's going to do it cheaper. Always. Right? I mean, somebody will list it for free, right? And there's some of those free listings, list it for 1%, list it for whatever, right? There's always somebody. When you compete on price, you will always get beat because there's always somebody that'll do it cheaper. So from a differentiation standpoint, it's something that, like you had mentioned, we've been kind of preaching from stage, for the last 7-8 years of being able to withstand the shift that is happening within the real estate space. And it's really, you're going to have the emerging talents, the emerging technologies. Those are still going to keep happening and not slow down. Those are there, and they're going to take a certain percentage of the marketplace. But then, you have the middle of the of the pack, if you will, and those are the ones that are really the most at risk to be differentiated. The other is you start to look at the top, and those are those of us that have really put in the time to think through and what is our differentiated value proposition, in, you know, inside of the marketplace. I think one of the easiest examples to kind of think about, Jeff, is, you know, when you look at it from a hotel perspective, right? You know, when you look at choices of hotels, you know, what comes to mind when, you know, we say, you know, Motel 6 versus Ritz-Carlton,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, for me, Motel 6 is cheap, maybe similar to a 1% commission or an iBuyer type situation, right? Cheap. It's easy. It's everywhere, right? Every little town's going to have one. It's easy. But being an educated consumer, I don't expect a lot. Now, Ritz-Carlton, I expect a lot. I expect a white glove treatment. I want everything is nice and luxury, and I feel there's no way that I couldn't get my money's worth.
You said an amazing word right there, that at the end of the day, what it's all distilled down to is how does it make you feel, right? Because logically, whatever, you know, we want to try to base our decisions as human beings. At the end of the day, it all comes down to feelings. And so what is each one of those? How does it make you feel? You look at it from an experience standpoint. Give you another one. You know, you look at what is one that everybody would resonate with? Maybe a Ruth's Chris versus you know, I don't know, Western Sizzler, right?
Outback or something.
Man, come on, man. Outback off shelf in our market in Lawton, Oklahoma. Come on.
You guys you probably didn't have a Ruth Chris though.
No way, man.
You know, there was a different one though. There was like the Trail Dust, one of those Trail Dust steakhouse.
Yeah, buddy.
No, but it does, right? And then that actually goes back to our branding and just not to relive a different episode, but the branding, when I pull up to a Ruth Chris, everything from the building to the signage to the valet out front to the hostess at the front door is consistent with what I expect, because that's what they've indoctrinated me to expect with their brand. And if I'm a business, if I'm running a real estate brokerage or I'm my own real estate business, meaning I'm an agent, the brand, I should be thinking about what's my brand. Is it Ritz-Carlton? How would I portray the service that I give so that it was looked at in the same fashion? And then does my business card represent that? Does my website represent that? Does my mail outs represent that? You know, am I carrying it through all the way? Yep. And then can I, most importantly, and here's where we really nail differentiation, is can I sit down in front of somebody face to face and articulate the difference that you receive working with me, because I create an experience. I wrote down experience. You know, what is an experience? It ain't buying the TV. It's watching the game on the TV. It's not buying the tickets to the concert. It's going to the concert. And so trying to argue or compete against commission, price, stuff that doesn't have any emotion, trying to compete against that's a losing game, right? Yeah. It's not the experience is where it's at. And so I don't know. I know you probably got something to say about
that. Man, it's even like, you know, you don't go buy the drill to buy the drill. You go buy the drill because you need that hole, right? You need, you know, that screw, right? You gotta put all, you know, those pieces together. Another clear, when you talk about differentiation, is you look at like Nordstrom's versus Ross, right? And you know, there's even the local and you know, the local shops, the local, you know, tailored shops, but you know, but when I say
those are my favorite, Ross, those are the Ruth Chris, the closing, and you get a good fitting suit, and we've talked about that before.
Yeah. So those are definitely some clear, distinctive, you know, differentiated businesses that you can kind of get your head around, and the choice that you have to, you know, as a, you know, an agent, as a business owner, building your brand and building your business is that you just have to make the decision, are you, Ritz-Carlton, or are you Motel 6? I know which one I would rather be.
And then you got to make the decision to really hone in on what that means, right? And so I want to really hone in on the face-to-face, because the most important time that you can probably spend in your business is face-to-face with a potential prospect. And so is everyone else. If you're an agent who's prospecting expireds, you're probably not the first person to call them. And so They're lined up. There's people, virtually knocking at their door saying, here, I'm your recruit. You want to pick me? Here, I'm your recruit. You want to pick me? So why are they going to pick you? Right. And so we need to be able to explain that and just talk a little bit about some of the things that we do, or maybe, I don't know, even like, here's the thing, like agents have access, so most people think, what do you think let's talk about sellers. What do you think causes the negative opinion that home owners have of real estate agents as far as they're not worth their money? What are we fighting against when it comes to that preconceived conception?
I don't know. I think the first thing that comes to mind is because at the end of the day, man, sellers just want to know the price of their home, and they trust what's online more so than what's the actual facts. So it's facing that fact and having to fight through that. That first thing that jumps to my mind. And so when you have an agent that is not willing to, or doesn't have a differentiated value proposition, then they're just competing on price, right?
Or they might not be able to articulate why their home isn't worth what they think.
No. Yeah. And you've got that nice little, differentiated placemat sitting right next to you there too.
You see
that?
Yeah. Yeah. That's like right there.
And so,
video, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's being able to have something, like for us, it's, proven repeatable system backed by market research to sell your home up to 18% more than, the average traditional real estate agent.
And then if you go deeper into it, if you attend one of our boot camps, you understand that there's 115 different variables that we've identified in that home selling process. And those are the same, by the way, 115 different variables that every agent has access to and should be doing as well. They just don't know how to break it down to the level where it seems like a system, and that differentiates. Anybody who's ever shown up to a presentation and executed it the way that we train, it's not uncommon, right, to have, we hear that the home seller's like, wow, I've never seen anything like that before. Right. I've never seen a system like that. Everybody else just comes and kind of does the same thing, but you're so different. And so even if you haven't been to that training, you should break down everything that you do in that process with a buyer or a seller and break it down and line item it out, because most people are saying some bullshit about price, or they're feeding them a load of smoke about, I know a lot of people, I'm just great. But you're going to come in and say, here's what we have. We have a 15-point proven system that's going to ensure your home gets the most exposure. Boom, first step one. Boom, step two. They're like, holy, nobody's ever broken it down like that. You're different, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is that just exactly what you said, right? We've identified 115 different variables in the home selling process. And, most of the other agents that have been in the business for quite some time, they understand, right? They've probably gone through, they've handled all of those variables as well. But I think that's the advantage, right? What we're talking about when it comes to differentiation. Can you articulate your differentiation? It's the same, and a lot of people have the same toolbox, but they don't know how to share and articulate those tools to get the job done. And man, you either have it or you don't. Then you be able to, like we say, be able to articulate it. That was, I think, the clear advantage as well. We were talking about advantage from a differentiation standpoint. Being able to articulate it is a huge differentiator.
How many times, everybody's going to be positioned with the objection of what makes you different. I've already talked to all these agents. What makes you any different? I mean, if you're not prepared to answer that question, then you're just waiting to get smacked in the face, basically, because it's going to happen, especially if you're prospecting as you should be on expireds and cancels and for sale by owners, where they've gotten calls from a bunch of agents, and your competitive advantage is that you need to find a way to stand out amongst all those other agents. And they're going to ask you, I've had 15 guys call me, what makes you any different? And that's exactly where you spent your time to get your list, and you know how to articulate your value. And 9 times out of 10, everybody else that they've asked that, like, hangs up the phone or doesn't know, or says, well, you know, we've been in business a long time, or we sell a lot of homes, or like, that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, we've
That's not part of the
earned the
experience.
trust of people. What the hell does that mean? That doesn't mean nothing to me. It's the elevator pitch, right? And we talk about that. You know, the elevator pitch is, you know, you have the time that you hit the elevator button until it stops to be able to articulate, you know, your differentiation. And that's, I mean, like for us, I mean, it's, you know, hey, you know, what do you do? Man, I'm an expert advisor. You know, we have a proven, repeatable system backed by market research to help you sell your home to up to 18% more than the traditional real estate agent. Would you like for me, you know, to show you how?
And then you have, you know, whiteboard video that anchors the same message. Then we have our white papers that anchor the same message. Then when you show up on a listing presentation with a prop that illustrates the same message, and it's consistent all the way through. So you're educating the customer along the way, even before they become a client, the difference, right? It's like we were talking about football, man. You play for the Patriots. I bet their system's different. When you plug into their system, it's different. There's some differentiation there than what's going on over in Miami.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. You know, and I look at, from a differentiation standpoint, you talk, you know, from a value perspective, and man, it just, and it feels like, I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but, you know, value unarticulated is value unappreciated. So you just have got to be able to know how to articulate the value that you bring, because I believe a lot of you guys listening in on this, you have a lot of value, but you just don't know how to articulate it.
And getting out a pen and a piece of paper, right? Getting out a pen and a piece of paper, not trying to do it in your head.
Yeah.
Get it out on paper. And I think, you know, when I said earlier, like, what do most people think? I think most homeowners probably think that when I hire an agent, they're just going to take pictures of the home. They're going to put it on the MLS. I don't even really know what that is. It's a trade term that I've learned to know because I'm a consumer. And then they're going to put a sign in the yard, and that's it. So why should I pay them $6,000, $10,000, $20,000 in commission? Because they've never been educated that there's anything different than that. Right. And obviously there are a lot of steps, and what differentiates a great agent from an average agent is all those steps in between. And not enough people are talking about the steps in between that they go through, or the team, or the resources that are put to work to ensure you get the outcome you want, whatever. You just got to break all that down so that it really, you know, sounds like you got something going on. I mean, and hopefully that'll cause you to win when you're lined up against another agent who just says, our brokerage has been in business for 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if not, you know, and here's the reality, you know, we were in Lawton, you know, we were number 2 in the market. We were never number 1. We competed with a behemoth, a Remax, you know, one of the Remax greats, you know, they commanded, I'd have to do the math, but they commanded a tremendous amount of market share, like 35 to 40% market share in our market. They were number 1 team. We competed with them every single listing. And, you know, we would win anytime that I say every single listing. Most of the times, at least when we were competing, we knew exactly what they were going to do. They were going to go at us on commission. They were going to drop their pants. And, you know, that's what we had to go against, and we would win. We would win because, you know, we had a differentiated value proposition that we could clearly articulate in how we were going to, you know, help our sellers put more money in their pocket. It's not about, you know, saving on the commission, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. It's about putting the most amount of money in your pocket. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's all they really want.
Man, it reminds me of one of my favorite things, and we're coming to the end of this episode. So there's two things that I want to finish off with, and credit to you for making me think of this. And that's the old Zig Ziglar, one of my favorite concepts that he talks about is price versus cost. And he talks about how him and the redhead, his wife, they got to go buy a bicycle for their daughter, and they don't want to spend a lot of money, so they buy a cheap bicycle. So they're worried about the price, right? I'm worried about commission. And so therefore I'm going to go cheap. But what happened is that the girl after 2 weeks rode the bicycle so much that a pedal fell off. So they went down to the store and they had to replace the pedal. And then the handlebar was something wrong. And by the end of the day, what they had spent in maintaining or the effect of going cheap was more than the cost. The cost, what it cost them to be worried about price was far more than if they would have just bought the Schwinn from the get-go.
Yeah.
And if you can articulate that to people that are worried about commission, all you're doing is putting the desired outcome at risk by going that route. And if you can find some creative ways to break that down, a few $1,000s broken down over the length of time owning a home or something, there's some creative ways. If you're talking about a $5,000 commission difference, how long you plan on owning your next home, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, that 5,000 becomes a few dollars a day. And you're not going to let that put, the lifestyle that you want at risk, are you? I mean, and there's just a lot of ways if you spend some time in your head to go about that. So price versus cost, people, they're worried about the price they're going to pay, but they ought to be worried about the cost of doing business with the wrong agent.
That's right.
And the other thing was the expertise, man. I was listening to Influence again the other day, and it referenced the Malcolm Gladwell book, and it talked about how most people that are experts have spent 10,000 hours. That's what it requires to be an expert. And if you know that stat and you can articulate that and talk about the amount of training that you've been through or the amount of time that you spend per week, I don't care if it's watching YouTube videos or reading books, present it in a different light, that you spend X amount of time every day, every week training to ensure that you're in the best position to get them the outcome they want. I mean, you got to spend time, but then if you can articulate the time that you spend to customers, nobody else is probably doing that.
Nope, not at all. And man, there's so many.
Talk about coaching. You can say coaching, right? What if you're an agent and says, just so you know, I want you to understand how intentional I am about being the best that I can be. I actually spend over $1,000 a month to have a personal coach to ensure me that I'm up to speed on the best tactics, strategies, and I have the best processes to perform the best for you. Get the heck out of here.
Powerful.
That's powerful.
It really is. It absolutely is. Guys, it's, you don't want to compete on price. You don't. There's always a Motel 6 that's cheaper, that will take your money.
And rather than to compete, right? Like highlight you, don't necessarily compete. Obviously it's a competition inherently, but price is everybody has access. There's nothing different about that, but my service, my Rolls Royce, my Ritz-Carlton level of service, the experience that I can provide, that's where you can be different because you can make it up.
Yeah. And then you're able to have those stories that helps build lifetime value, that you get another one of the key pillars of influence that you were, listening to again, which is, that third party endorsement, social proof, in that, testimonial aspect that helps, somebody else other than you waving the, the differentiated flag. And, it's putting those pieces together, but I think it all starts in your mind, right, Jeff? It starts in your mind. You have to make the decision, right? You have multiple choices, but you have to make the decision. Do you want to be different, or do you want to, run with the herd?
To find out how to build a 7-figure real estate business in 3 years or less, go to kinderreesecoaching.com. You've been listening to the Growth Guys podcast. If you want us to help you grow your real estate business, go to kinderreesecoaching.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the Growth Guys podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast fix to get new, fresh weekly episodes. Catch you next time on the Growth Guys podcast.